Hi there and welcome back to the Aging Grace podcast. My name is Andrew Blakey, your host, and today we're bringing you another incredible guest. Now, what if stress isn't something to eliminate, but something to understand and even use to your advantage? Most people are stuck in survival mode, reacting instead of responding, and it's costing them their energy, their focus, and their long-term health. Now, in today's episode, we're diving into a conversation that's part science, part soul, and 100% relevant for anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed, overworked, or just plain stuck. Our guest has spent years helping people build emotional resilience that actually lasts. He's the host of The Exhale on SiriusXM Radio, the voice behind the Feelgoodery podcast, and a resident contributor to The Morning Show. If you're ready to shift from stressed out to truly steady, this is one you're going to want to listen to all the way through. Please welcome our guest for today, Kyle Buchanan. So today I've got Kyle Buchanan here on the show, and he is filled with a plethora of knowledge. I've been following him on social media for quite some time now, and I'm glad that we finally are able to get him here talking about a topic that I think a lot of you guys are really going to resonate. So he is one of the contributors to The Exhale on SiriusXM. He's the host of the Feelgoodery podcast, and he's also the resident contributor on weekday mornings on The Morning Show. So welcome, Kyle.
Thanks so much, Andrew. What a warm welcome. And I have followed you a while on social media, and we were talking just before we recorded how it's just so nice to actually connect in real life with people as opposed to just seeing them online. So it's really wonderful to be here.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's a couple. I've been thinking about this conversation for a while, and there's a couple reasons why I'm very excited to speak with you today.
Okay.
The big one, you're like, that's very cryptic.
I forgot to ask. I mean, keep this in. This is video and audio, right?
It is.
Okay, good. I'll try to be very expressive in my speaking.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So there's a couple different reasons why I'm excited to chat with Kyle today. One of them is that, again, I've been following him on social media for a while, and he really brings a very openness and refreshing approach to teaching people about wellness and teaching people about different topics. So, Kyle, what first kind of led you into looking into and learning more about stress and resilience, the topic for today?
Okay, so stress and resilience. Well, they say speak to what you know. And since I was like a 5-year-old, I had stress, anxiety to the nines. So it's something that's been a part of my life for a long time. It led to a lot of self-destructive behavior. It led to a lot of insecurities. It led to a lot of rumination. So eventually, when I was like in my mid-20s, I decided to kind of take back control of my biology and figure stuff out to really get a handle on it. Because when you deal with, high stress, high anxiety, high self-doubt, which is something I also love talking about, you just feel so out of control all the time and victim to it. And that's a horrible feeling. So I love getting a handle on things and to know there are things we can do to support our body in a way that stress and anxiety doesn't steer the wheel. I think is really exciting. So that's why I kind of always like talking about it. And it's one of those things where I grew up so anxious and so stressed out all the time. I was surprised to learn that not everyone deals with it. So whenever anyone says, no, I deal with it too, it makes me so happy because I can be like, oh, me too. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get it out on the table.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I feel like sometimes stress is almost like a blanket term. So like what exactly is stress? Kind of like break that down for us. When somebody says stress, how do you define that?
I mean, like at its core, stress is it's a good thing. It's the body's response to a perceived threat. It gets you prepared to face a stressor or a danger and help you survive that stressor. I always get lost a little bit, not lost, but there's nuance in what's the difference between stress and anxiety, because stress is very specific. Stress is you're stressed about work, you're stressed about the in-laws moving in, you're stressed about being messy at a party and you're regretting it. Like that's stress when it's specific. Anxiety is a little bit more general. Anxiety is a little bit more abstract. Anxiety is more like, what if all these million different things? And there's so much overlap between the two, but I always like saying that first. And then when I from here talk about stress and anxiety, I'm really kind of using them interchangeably. But stress essentially is just your body's physiological response to a perceived threat. And for some of us, we see threats all over the place when we really shouldn't, but it doesn't matter because our body prepares for that threat in the same way. And that's when, depending on how reactive you are as a person, that's when it can really start affecting your biology.
Interesting. And I find it hilarious that you just brought up the difference between stress and anxiety, because just this morning, I got a question from Heather on Instagram, and I actually threw this in here, and it was literally, how is stress different from anxiety? She works long hours, and she can't tell if she's stressed, anxious, or just burnt out. So you do you have any thoughts on how you can kind of figure out which one of those that somebody might be going through?
I would say so many of us are burnt out, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's that. But if it's related to work, I would say that's a high stress scenario. If it's worse during work hours, during post work hours, that would be very specific to stress. But if it bleeds into work is causing you to think of all these what ifs, and you're starting to worry about the future and worry about the future of work and what's going to happen, and it sort of snowballs, that's when I would say it's more anxiety. But this is where it kind of all can fold into one. And for the purposes of like supporting your body and a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about regarding nutrition and other aspects, it all supports the same system. So you don't have to get too, in my opinion, I'm not a therapist. I want to put that out there. Like, I'm not a trained mental health professional, but in my head, when it comes to how we're going to support our system and our stress response, it all kind of falls into similar fields. So don't get too caught up with that. But my biggest thing, if you wake up with a whole bunch of what ifs, what if this happens at work? What if they don't call back? What if I get fired? I would say that's more anxiety. And it can all lead to burnout. So the whole point of all of it is to support your system so you don't get to that burnout stage.
And I feel like we all have had a time in our lives where we're just extremely burnt out, and
Oh yeah.
I feel like we all handle it differently. I mean, like, for me, I just pick up and go on a spontaneous trip.
Oh, is that
That's how I deal with it.
Family members know when you've hit your wall, when you're like, I booked a flight, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, sweetie, I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, they're like, oh, okay, well, enjoy, have fun. I was like, yeah, I'll be a new person when I come back.
I mean, as far as stress management techniques go, that's actually pretty amazing. Like,
I guess the worst things in the world.
when stress hits, travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, again, what works for you, and you have found, I mean, part of developing your stress toolbox is knowing what works for you and applying that as needed when you go through stressful times. Like, it's part of all of our own individual journeys to realize how our body reacts under times of stress, what our coping mechanisms are, and then find different strategies to deal with that stress in more healthy ways. Like, it's kind of like all of our little puzzles that we get to figure out over this lifetime.
I feel like we'll get into like specific strategies for dealing with stress a little bit later on. But we hear about things such as good stress, bad stress. So if stress had a personality, would it be a friend? Would it be foe? Or is that like too much of a black and white depiction of it?
I don't think it is. I think it's a really good question, and no one's asked me it like that before. If I had to say if stress was a person, I would say it is the over enthusiastic friend that wants the best for you,
Right.
but doesn't know when the hell to leave the party. Like, the
Right.
one that just sticks around for too long. They were great in short little bursts with them. They made you feel good. They made you feel energized. They made you feel puffed up, and like you could handle anything. And then they just stick around a little longer than they should. Like, you're trying to pack up for the night. You're sending signals, but that friend just stays longer than they would like. I think if stress was a person, it'd be that, like, that eager beaver maybe puts their nose in things they shouldn't put their nose in friend that you love dearly in short bursts.
I feel like that's the perfect way of putting it. Like, that's amazing. That's
I always I feel bad. Like, I always like naming things, because for me, naming a feeling or naming your ego is really helpful for me anyways, and I like the visual. And I default to the name Sheila when it comes for stress. Like, Sheila, the overenthusiastic friend, and I've used it quite a bit. And I love Sheila's out
Right.
there,
Yeah.
and it's not a dig at Sheila's, but it stresses Sheila at the party who doesn't want to leave.
Okay. That's amazing.
I don't know.
Okay, so when it comes to stress, we talk a lot about how it's something to reduce or to manage. But is there ever a time, in your opinion, where we should lean into it or kind of dig a little bit deeper on it?
Again, another good Andrew. You impress me. You very much impress me, and I just want to say that because you do a lot of prep for these, and this is my praise for you. You do a lot of prep and you do a lot of care with these kind of questions. So you're doing a wonderful
Oh, thank
job.
you.
And I just because not everyone does that.
Mhm.
What was the question? It was is stress always a bad thing? Is that what it was?
Yeah, is it something to reduce, manage, or should we like lean into it sometimes? And what are those situations where we should lean into it?
So I think stress can be a good thing. Like stress, like especially nowadays with people like me out there telling you to like reduce your stress, manage stress. It's easy to have that narrative that all stress is bad. But stress in the right contexts actually makes us stronger. I don't know if you've spoken about this on the show before, but there's a concept known as hormesis, which is
Mhm.
basically anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So small amounts of controlled stress that you're applying for a purpose can actually make the body stronger and more resilient. So this is where exercise is a form of stress. This is where cold exposure is a form of stress. Even intermittent fasting can be a form of stress. And I would even go as so far to say, if you're scared of public speaking, doing a little talk now and then is a form of a good stress because what you're
Mhm.
controlling is going to make your body stronger and more resilient. So we don't want to turn away from those little good stresses. We just want to be aware that stress should have a time limit and not overstay its welcome. It's when stress veers from short term to long term that we start running into problems. Like stress in and of itself is not a problem. Chronic stress is the kryptonite to humankind because eventually it'll just start breaking us down. But
Mhm.
hormetic stressors, you probably could name off more than me, like exercise, cold exposure, intermittent fasting. Uh, what am I missing? A whole
Uh,
bunch.
uh, now you're putting me on the spot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I think
Yeah.
like even like I did a episode of Feelgoodery a little while ago about like we, especially nowadays in social media, and I harp on social media too much, but we're so easily drawn towards getting comfortable and not staying in discomfort.
True.
Like if we're
True.
bored for a second, we'll go on our phones, we'll distract ourselves to avoid that discomfort. And that's a very human thing. Like it's not a bad
Right.
thing. It's when we steer away too much from it and don't use discomfort to our advantage that we kind of are missing the opportunity.
Right.
Discomfort and stress in the right dose can make the body stronger. It's like pressure builds diamonds.
Right.
The trick is for each of us finding out the level of discomfort and stress that's actually healthy for us, and that I think will vary person to person.
Right. And so we talk about like these small stresses, which can be good for us. And so that would, I guess, would be more classified as like acute stresses. Is that
I
right?
just yeah,
Yeah.
I just
And
burped,
so
sorry.
when does it become chronic stress, and when does it become like a bad thing?
So I would say when you're starting to feel anxious all the time, when you're starting to feel that burnout feeling, when you are feeling more melancholic, when you're not getting, and we veer into kind of depression category here, and I don't want to do that, but
Right.
y- I think each of us knows when things have gone on a little longer than they should.
Hmm.
Um, there's the obvious stuff like work. When work kind of bleeds in, when you don't have a reprieve, when you no longer have that space between stressors, like when you don't take breaks during work, when you kind of go from work at the office to emails at home and you just kind of go on autopilot work mode, even if that autopilot is you go from work to the gym and you do this really high intensity exercise, which again can be good unless you overdo it.
Right.
When you don't allow your body to rest, I think that's when stress can creep in and start taking its toll on you. It's the fact that we're just so hyper fixated on being overproductive, we don't know how to rest anymore. And I think that's when it kind of veers. I've tangented huge
Hmm.
there, but that's what I feel because I would say when the everyday things that you're doing just become so intense and monotonous and constant, that's when the short-term stress becomes more chronic, and you don't allow yourself to breathe in between the little stressors in life. Because nowadays, if you think about it, like, our bodies are designed to handle stress.
Right.
We have the stressor, our stress hormones kick in, we got some more blood sugar, we have this energy, we face the stress, we have that difficult conversation, or we do that presentation at work, and then we go back to normal, ideally.
Right.
Everything, blood sugar goes back down, we relax, and we have these waves. Our bodies were designed for these stressful periods, not so stressful, not so, the balance, yin and yang.
Right.
Nowadays, we go from that presentation at work to emails on our phone, to social media, to answering a phone call, to talking about work, to even watching a true crime doc, which is cathartic, but it can increase stress hormones, to watching the news. And our bodies nowadays, I believe, just are more stressed out than ever because we don't give ourselves time to have that downbeat. We don't allow ourselves to be bored or to rest. And even the caveat there, and I'm sorry for tangenting. Why can't I figure out that word today? Tangenting.
Right.
I'll get it later.
Sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, let's say it.
Yeah.
Even when we do allow ourselves to rest, a lot of us will just feel guilty about it. And that doesn't do us any good either. So I think there's a lack of intentionality behind our rest periods. That's a missing piece. But in general, we're just so overstimulated and overproductive nowadays, where I just think we're on this treadmill that just needs to break down, or will break down eventually.
Yeah, right. And I feel like, and I know there's people that I personally know where they are just constantly lacking sleep or having these different like stresses like all the time. Like, I can think of one family in particular that is regular, like often only sleeping like 4 to 5 hours a night, like all the time. And
because they're just so busy, or
they're up late working. It's crazy to me because, again, like I just, I try to have balance and whatnot. But one of the things I hear is, oh, I'm just used to it now. What are your thoughts on like just being used to it now?
I mean,
I don't know how you could get used to that. Like, your body needs, a certain amount of rest, right?
yeah, it needs, but I think humans are creatures of habit and we'll get used to anything. I mean, you could say the same thing about, I drink 3 glasses of wine, or I drink 4 vodkas a night.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
Just because you're used to something doesn't mean it's good for you. And eventually the piper will be paid. I think it's a little bit of, and I've used this too. I'm used to it. It's a little bit of a cop out. It's a little bit of I'm going to put a plug in this. I'm not going to acknowledge that because I'm used to it, and I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. But the problem with this kind of stuff is normally there's a cost at the end of the line, right? And that's not meant to scare us. And there's so much clickbait out there. But if you don't take the steps, we all want to live like a healthy 70s and 80s or whatever. If you're not doing it now because your body's just used to it, then you could be facing an insurmountable challenge down the line that's going to make your supposedly relaxed years of your life suck and not feel very good. And it's not easy because we all have crap going on. We have so much responsibility, and that's why it's so difficult to talk about stress, because normally when we're stressed out, we don't want to hear anything. We don't like, I know I should breathe. I know I should take a yoga class. I know it. And it doesn't help, but we have to keep reminding ourselves until it clicks, because it's going to click now or it's going to click not so great later. But I think used to it is a very dangerous phrase.
Yeah, fair. I agree. And one of the things that I've seen in more recent years is people being more open to having conversations about stress, and admitting, oh, you know what, I'm very stressed right now. Whereas before, I feel like a lot of us, we had to put on more of a tough exterior of, oh, I'm fine. So why do you think that people are starting to take stress more seriously? Why is it a conversation that more people are open to having? How did, in your opinion, how do you think all this kind of came about?
It's a really good question. I think
it's a hard one.
There were more therapists than ever. I think there was my gut answer is that the pot was overflowing and we had no choice but to address it, because otherwise what resists persists. I think all of us were feeling it so heavily. There was a natural burst where we had to talk about it, combined with the evolution of humanity, really, and increased consciousness, and really social media as well, because social media, as much as I like to harp on it, it did connect us, and it did give us access to people all over the world at a greater number than ever before. And with more numbers, you're more likely to hear one or two people say something that you've been wanting to say your whole life. And then it kind of is a domino effect where one person said it, so it's okay to say it, and then someone else said it, and it snowballed in a good way. So I think the combination of social media made talking easier around the world, and the fact that we're just hitting this, the kettle's boiling at the stove, where we kind of had to talk it. And it's great. It's really wonderful that we are talking about it now and taking steps. I think we have a long way to go, because what can happen sometimes, I think, is we can say it. So we can say it now. We're all stressed. Okay, we're all stressed. Great. We're all very busy. We're all very busy. But the hard work that actually helps us cope with that isn't really being done, but we're just talking about it a little bit more. So
We're getting there.
It's been spoken, but it hasn't been integrated yet, because in different parts of the world it has, with 4-day work weeks. Like, I think societally, some parts of the world are doing this really well. But in terms of the infrastructure that we all kind of run in North America, it hasn't fallen. It hasn't, what's the word I'm saying? It hasn't been integrated in that sense.
Right. Yeah.
So we're getting there, but there's more corporate wellness things and that sort of stuff, which is great. And, 1 or 2 mental health days for people over the year, depending on the company. I think there's a long way to go, and have it not affect the bottom line either. Because I think companies are just scared that the more leeway we give, the more XYZ we do, the less money we'll make, which may or may not be true. But I think in terms of a human species, for us to survive and thrive, maybe the bottom line might have to be cut a little bit. And we just recognize that, it's not all about money. It's about mental well-being as well. But that's a whole nother talk.
That'll be for next time.
Okay.
And so we've talked a lot about stress, and where does resilience fit in? What is resilience in this conversation?
I would say resilience is the ability to bounce back from a stressor. It's your stress muscle. It's how your body responds to stress. It's the cushion between whatever stressor there is and how your body responds. Because it's not, you might have heard this too, when you're going through stress and you just don't want to hear it. And I've been in that boat. I'll still be in that boat depending on my mood on a given day. But it's not the stressor itself that's bad. It's how our bodies react to that stressor that determines how it's going to affect our physiology. If you are a highly reactive person, and I would argue you have very low resilience because you're just reacting to every little thing, your body's going to be taken down a heck of a lot faster than someone who has worked to build their resilience and build that muscle. And when faced with a stressor, it may or may not take them down. But if it does take them down, and there is that bounce back stress resiliency muscle, they're more likely to get up faster and recover from it.
And so you talk about resilience being like a muscle. So what's the best way to work out this muscle? How do we strengthen this muscle of resilience?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
it's a great segue.
It's a great segue. My gosh. It's taking time in the day through every choice you make, or just a couple choices, to build that foundation. Like, my goal for myself and the things I talk about really is to build like a foundation of a house, build a calmer foundation that's grounded, that's nourished, that speaks to itself well, so that when faced with a stressor, you don't get taken down. So it really is about building that muscle. And you do that through food, you do that through body and body work, and you do that through self-talk. And each of those have different list and things within them. But food, body work, and self-talk would be the 3, and we can delve into each of those if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I was hoping you'd say no. Oh crap! I got nothing.
Okay, pick one of the 3. Pick one of the 3.
No. Food. Okay, so let's start with food. obviously it's a 1-2 punch when it comes to food and building. It's about reducing the foods that hit your system hard and make you less resilient. So that would be, sorry for the horn, that would be ultra processed sugars. Like, again, people are rolling their eyes because we hear this all the time, but it's true. Ultra processed sugar. It'd be watching alcohol consumption, especially if you tend to get sad with alcohol consumption, because alcohol will make you less resilient. If you've ever woken up with a hangover before and felt so much shame about what you did the night before, you're sensitive. You are a sensitive Sally for a good 3 days after that, and your resiliency is down. So just watching, not removing completely, depending on you as a person, removing the ultra processed foods, removing the alcohol, and removing potential sensitivities for you. And an example of that could be something like artificial sweeteners. For some people, aspartame can really trigger anxiety and make you less resilient the next day. And this is where that is very individual specific. And then it would be adding in the foods that support your adrenal glands, support your blood sugar, and support your hormones. So that would be making sure, if you're just on this road and you're a highly anxious person and you're a highly stressed out person, it would be eating to support your blood sugar. So every 3 to 4 hours, make sure you're getting some protein, some fiber in there. Don't go too low on the carbs, and nourishing yourself in that way, making sure you're getting enough protein, fiber. And then you can go to the individual nutrients when it comes to supporting stress resiliency. The big 3 for me would be making sure you're getting enough vitamin C. Your adrenal glands which are your stress glands. They produce all of those wonderful stress hormones that make us feel anxious, but we want them. Your adrenal glands house a large concentration of vitamin C, and your body uses up more vitamin C under times of stress. So, of course, you can do it through food, citrus and berries and bell peppers, provided you don't have a sensitivity to nightshades and all this nuance. Right. And you can also consider like a vitamin C supplement before going out and buying expensive adrenal gland supplements. The second one would be magnesium. Shocker, magnesium is great for us. Again, it can help so many different aspects of stress. Magnesium is something I recommend supplementing with. I know it's in food as well. And people have a yay or nay with supplements. I like meeting all of us where we're at. Frankly, a lot of us don't eat ideally, including myself sometimes. And that's where I think supplements can help us get from A to C faster. So magnesium supplement. And the other one would be omega-3. So that would be fish and fish oil. And if you are vegan or vegetarian, doing an algae-based oil, because the amount of omega-3, the good omega-3 that we want out of omega-3, EPA and DHA we have to convert plant-based foods into that, and the conversion process isn't great. All this to say, an omega-3 supplement of some kind, because omega-3, when it comes to stress, what's really interesting, it can help blunt our stress response a little bit. So speaking of resiliency, they found that those who have a decent omega-3 status are less reactive when faced with a stressor. So it's like a little bit of a pillow. I think of it as a pillow. So making sure the omegas. So eating to support blood sugar, removing the crap that makes you weak for a period of time or reducing it, and keeping track of vitamin C, magnesium, and omega-3. That'd be that. So that's the food.
Okay. Yeah. All amazing suggestions. I mean, I think that it's really interesting because when people are stressed, I hear a lot of people they're like, oh, you know what? I just need a night out. I just need, I need to go out and do something, a Friday night. They're like, oh, I've had a long week. I just need to go out and I feel like a lot, I feel like there's a place, because it's like, hey, you know what? We need to get our minds off something that's got to be beneficial to us. But what are some like unconventional ways people think that they are supporting their stress and improving their stress, but are actually not?
I mean, like you said, like going out on a Friday night, although people know and it's interesting, going out on a Friday night inherently of itself isn't a bad thing. It's when it's like you have like 10 vodka sodas because you just need to get rid of, like, that's obvious stuff. I would say overproductivity would be one. I would say overproductivity, and I would say over-exercising. That would be I would say over-exercising would be a big one, because
I see it all the time. Yeah.
I bet you do. Like, it's like, in short, exercise is wonderful. I'm not saying not to do exercise, but when you're stressed out already and you do high intensity CrossFit or one of those like $80 classes that everyone seems to have money for somehow, they're great in the right context, but they can also contribute to burnout and increasing stress hormones more than you'd like. That can actually leave you more tired and in a breakdown state more than you might like. So I'd say over exercising would be the big one, as well as over productivity. That would be the big one.
Yeah, because it's interesting because like a lot of people when they say somebody hasn't worked out in like 20 years or something, whatever number, long time, and they're like, hey, I want to start working out again, but some people, they just assume, okay, you know what, that means I got to start working out every single day. But that's actually causing them more stress. I mean, again, the little stress is good, but when you're working out, 7 days a week, at some random CrossFit class for an hour or whatever, that could actually be hindering them rather than helping them, it sounds like.
Yeah. And and I don't want to dissuade people
No,
from,
of course.
if you're excited and working out and you want to do it, go 7 days or whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you're balancing that with restorative practices, as long as you're, um, taking time to wind down and stretch. But it is one of those things. And what happens in that case too, when people go from 0 to 100, historically, we don't do great with change as humans. So when you try to change everything all at once, chances are you're not going to stick with it, because it's not a failure. It's just human nature. So I think when we go from like no workouts to 7 days a week, it's a slippery slope to something that actually won't serve you. So if you can, I always love the term microdose, like in general, for anything, by the way. If you can just find a way to microdose the change for you, I think it's a better way to have it stick.
Amazing.
And just like, and if you do want to do the 7 days a week, maybe it doesn't have to be CrossFit every day. Maybe it can be yoga one day, or maybe it can be walking one day. Find different ways to work out that don't always make you sweat and want to die at the end of the hour.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for you, I mean, I know you're always running around. I mean, I always see you're doing like a ton of crazy stuff. Like you're just always running.
Really?
I think so. On on Instagram, like you're flying somewhere, you're doing a talk somewhere. And
Oh
so
my God. It's so funny. Like, this is where I love just talking about the human condition and what all of us, like, we go on social media and we feel like everyone's doing so much more than us. It doesn't feel that way for me. Like,
Oh, really?
I've been
Okay.
stressed lately, and I do travel quite a bit, but it's not as
Not like go.
No, I look at so many other people and like, oh my God, how do you do that? But anyways, not to interrupt. Was there? I forget.
There
It's
wasn't.
just like,
There
we
was a
have to
question.
remember we're not all the same. Okay, what's the question?
Yeah. Okay. So the
Or
question
we
is,
are all the same. Not
yeah,
all.
right. So when you're stressed, do you have any like unusual techniques that you use to help you balance that stress, or anything that is like a little bit different that helps you manage your stress that maybe you don't talk about all that much?
Yeah, and this is where I'm going to be a friggin' hypocrite and say I have been more busy lately. So but just with different things like life stuff and whatever, where I used to operate from a place, because work had let me do that, where I would look forward to an ending. Like, I'd look forward to the end of the day, or I would look forward to um, a week off or a weekend. So I would kind of like do everything I could do calm wise, but I would kind of grit my teeth and hold my breath when I was being productive. You rush and get it done, and then you can relax. Like, always delaying it, like as a reward, which isn't inherently a bad thing. But what I'm running into now is I just don't have that much rest period anymore. So I'm being forced to friggin' practice what I preach and add more calm in. So the one technique that I'll do that I really don't talk about is when I'm getting ready, when I'm walking my dog, when I'm driving, I will om. Like, I will
Oh,
walk
really?
and do, like, as I'm this morning before the show, like I was literally just
Yeah,
as
really?
long as I can, like, until I'm ready,
Yeah.
and then I do it again. Like, it's just, you don't really want to do it when driving, because it's a very powerful thing that'll relax the brain. But
Okay.
as you're walking, I do that a
Interesting.
lot. Because I know, like, humming and oming, it does help activate that vagus nerve that can help calm us down. It's a very restorative thing. So I add the calm. Okay, yeah, I add the calm when and where I can throughout the day. The other thing I will do, and this is where my friggin' I'm either quirky or just annoyingly stupid, but not stupid, that's the wrong word. But I know that gratitude is important, and I know on the days I'm I come from an incredibly anxious family. My default is anxiety. My default is things are going wrong. People don't like me. I'm failing in some way. So I know that's my default.
Mm.
And I know based on the research, based on everything, that one of the fastest ways to outdo that is to practice gratitude.
Oh.
And it's a muscle. And this is where, if you don't want to hear it, you're under stress. I know it's the friggin' worst, but it is a muscle. And I do feel better after I do gratitude. So what I will do is, and it's a muscle, like it's really hard to think of things you're grateful for in the beginning,
Right.
but the more minute and the more little you can get with that, the better. It's a muscle that you do get better at. It grows.
Right.
So what I'll do when I'm walking, again, you find the time, like when I'm walking from typically my parking garage to the elevator, I will, and this is just an exercise that I do, I will time my words to my steps and not allow my brain to think too hard. So each step I will do, thank you for my thing. Thank you for my exam. Thank you for the sky. Thank you for the clean air I breathe. Thank you for the work that went well. Like literally that kind of stuff. And it's very hard at first, but you get better at it. And the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. And the more you will do it without even realizing it. And then the beautiful thing is, you'll naturally just elevate your state a little bit every day without even trying too hard.
Mm.
So in knowing that I'm in a more stressful time right now, I have no choice but to microdose those things in my day. So those would be the two things that I really don't talk about, but I do.
No, those are super interesting. I love that. That's a very unique approach to it.
Unique is the right word.
Yeah.
Not stupid. It's very unique.
Very unique.
You know?
Unique. That's right.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, super cool. And I feel like when it comes to dealing with stress, just like you've got your technique that you use, it's really individual to the person, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a one size all fits approach.
Completely. And I think that's where we run into the struggles with social media, is to get posts and videos and things to do well, which isn't a bad thing. It helps grow people's brands and businesses and allows them to put food on the table. But it's the algorithm has forced us into a very extreme way of delivering messages. And a lot of videos are like, this will change your life. You do this and you will feel better. These three things will kill you. These three, and it's so divisive. And I think it can lead us to think that if something doesn't work for us, then there must be something wrong with us, or there's no point in trying because that was supposed to work and it didn't. I think when it comes to anything, including stress management, the nuance needs to be there a little bit more, and our responsibility to ourselves needs to be there a little bit more, where it's like, that might not work for me. I might try it on for size, provided it doesn't hurt me. And keep what you need and leave the rest. But it is a thing about finding what works for you, and balls to the wall. Do what works for you.
Right. Yeah.
Except if it's like a vodka in the morning, then you might want to
maybe skip that.
It works for me, okay?
Yeah, that's right. But that's one of the things that honestly drives me a little bit crazy about social media is when people say like always or never. Because I mean, like, even just using those terms, I mean, typically, I think you get more views or whatever because it's like,
you do.
It's so divisive, right?
And it forces people to be the expert when they're not. And this is no shame at all, because I went through a course and it was like a branding course or something when I graduated school. And they were like, you need to be the expert. You need to position yourself as the expert. So this is what we are taught to do in this land of social media. And even if we're not ready, we're forced to be the expert. And that messaging leads people to think that you are the expert because you're saying you're the expert. And it creates kind of the snowball of whole expert crap that we find ourselves in. So I think it's a little bit of a tricky thing. Yeah, I've completely lost my train of thought. But
yeah, that's all right.
Because I'm not an expert. Oh, yeah. So in the beginning, like, I would say like those kind of phrases, like you mentioned, like this is exactly the answer. This is not the answer. And I don't do that anymore. And I probably would have a bigger following if I did do that. Like, not that following matters at all, but it's pretty simple to see when you go on social media, the people that have huge accounts are the extreme views.
Yeah.
Are the ones that says this is right and this is wrong. And it's unfortunate that the algorithm has forced us there.
Yeah.
And I on a human level, we're all going through it together, so I don't fault anyone. It's just unfortunate because it leaves little room for nuance. And frankly, nuance is boring. The
Mm-hmm.
little stuff is boring. The stuff that is going to make you healthier foundationally is not clickable content,
Yeah.
right? So we're just trying to do, everyone's just doing their best, and I don't fault them for it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just created this leapfrog of this will change your life, and this is right, and this is wrong, and it's just led to more confusion than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like, it's one of those things where it's like the effective strategies for eating, for sleep, for stress. I mean, the effective strategies aren't necessarily big and flashy. They're, like you said, I mean, they're kind of boring, right?
Yeah,
But they work, right? But
exactly.
who wants to watch that, right? Who wants to watch
No one
that?
wants to watch that. Clearly,
But
it just doesn't get the clicks.
it's wild.
And
Wild.
yeah, it's a wild place we're living in.
Yeah.
I'm so curious what the next 10 years are gonna. I'm curious and petrified
Yeah.
of what the next 10 years is gonna bring. But hopefully, we'll kind of have a wake up moment where, like, oh, guys, like recently, this is a tangent, but recently I've started watching the news again.
Mm-hmm.
I never really stopped, but I watch it more. No, in a good way, because what I like about the news and journalistic integrity in a world where it's that needs to be praised. With social media, there's so much information. I don't know what actually is worthy of news. I don't know what my brain can't make sense of it. So when I turn on the news, what I like about it is, okay, this is a distilled thing. These are the top news stories that the world are talking about, and it's almost a sense of control. So it's almost like I'm, in a good way, regressing to like simpler times where I'll watch the news, go on social media for my friends and my fun and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It is those little things. So we're overstimulated. We have so much. The world is connected in ways we could never have imagined, and taking a step back and doing more basic things that we maybe used to do, I'm finding incredibly helpful.
Yeah. Refreshing a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I know.
yeah.
But, and yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Anyway.
But we're going on. I think we're about 40 minutes in right now. So I got a couple more questions for you here. So kind of closing this out, what do you think is one piece of advice that you wish more people knew about stress and resilience?
That your foundation matters more than your willpower on a given day. Like, if you take the steps to build a more solid foundation, stress won't have a hold on you that it might have now. Like, the foundation, the boring stuff, doing things to calm your system and nervous system on the daily, the stuff that is easy to roll your eyes at, because whenever we oversee something, it's like we know about it, but we don't do it. It's this weird kind of phenomenon in our brain. But it's not that you have poor willpower. It's not that you are failing because you're more anxious now. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's a matter of foundation. And the more steps we do to build that foundation, like it's medicine, the calmer we're going to be overall, because the world is becoming more stressful. The world is becoming more overstimulated. There's more distraction. Our attention spans are like a decimal at this point. And we have to take that power back, and we have to remember we have the same biology that, more or less, than our ancestors did. And the only stressors they had was literally life or death in tigers, but we still have that biology, and we need to get down to basics, simplify it, and remember that we need to program this biology to handle our world. So it's not a matter of not doing those things anymore. We're getting to a point in humanity where it's life-saving to build that foundation so you are more resilient when faced with stress.
Amazing. Well, you know what? I think that's a great place to end it. So thank you, Kyle. Kyle is also one of the hosts on the Exhale on SiriusXM Radio. So before we finish off, what exactly is the Exhale?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for a wonderful conversation, a wonderful chat. Thank you for your preparation in this, and thanks for putting so much good out into the world. Like, you're a good one, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The Exhale is basically a place where we get together on SiriusXM once a week, Sundays at 4 p.m. But then it's a radio show, but then it stays on the SiriusXM app. To basically, and we've talked about this a little bit beforehand, I feel like we're all just kind of faking it as adults. We're little kids who are grown up in a playground, kind of doing the best we can, and the world can make us feel like we're not measuring up to whatever abstract thing we decided we need to measure up to. And it's kind of a place for us to kind of take a breath out, take a minute and decompress, connect with each other, maybe learn a thing or two that can help us for the week ahead, and then leave feeling like we've actually got some things together. It's meant to be just a friggin' exhale.
Mhm.
Originally, the tagline for the show was a safe space to answer the question, what the hell is going on? And that's the ethos behind it. That's still
Uh-huh.
the pillar, but that was too many words. So the
Right.
tagline is finding clarity in the chaos and meaning in the messy, because the world can feel so incredibly chaotic and messy, and it can feel like you're messing up all the time. And this is a place just to come together and remind ourselves that we're doing our best and we're doing great.
Mhm.
Because I come from a place of not liking myself very much and feeling less than and feeling inferior. I still battle with it.
Mhm.
And it's not a nice place to be. So I want us, if you feel that way, to come together and know that we're not alone, so we can move forward in the week ahead with a little bit of gumption.
Mm.
Did you ever see The Holiday?
The movie, the
The
Christmas
movie.
movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kate Winslet. So when she found her gumption was her big thing. She was missing her gumption, this thing, this effervescence, this life, this drive. So I always I love that term, gumption. So the show is meant to give us a little bit of it if you're feeling less than for the week ahead.
Yeah, well, it sounds amazing. It sounds like exactly what the world needs right now. So everybody go check out the Exhale. Thank you, Kyle, for joining us. I had an absolute blast chatting with you, and hope you'll join us again one day.
Absolutely. You're great. And you got to come on the show.
Yeah, gladly. Let me
Okay.
know when. Okay. All right. Well, that's everybody. That's everything we got for you guys today on the Aging Grace. Until next week, this is Andrew, and we'll talk to you soon.